All right, guys, welcome to this volume profile video on how to use the volume profile when you're day trading. This is going to be specifically geared toward trending markets. If you haven't seen the first couple of videos, go check those out. You've got the introduction video, and then you've got a more detailed video after that, the second video in the series where I cover how to use volume profile throughout the day for day trading and scalping. I give some examples there for trending markets and range bound or congested markets. But now we're going to specifically focus on trending markets here for this video because we want to continue to dial down into the nitty gritty on how to use volume profile effectively for your day trading, your scalping. And again, you can use this on any time frame you want. Volume profile is absolutely amazing. I use it to confirm all of my Owings market analysis setup. You can see I've got my OMA indicators here. We'll talk a little bit about these. You can watch me use these in the live broadcast where I trade live on YouTube every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday to Friday. But for now, the focus of the video is volume profile. And what you need to do is match up volume profile to your specific methodology. So I'm matching it up to my methodology because this is the way that I trade. And I want to show you guys how I use it for my trading. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to focus on volume profile for trending markets, right? I want to break this down into each specific type of market that we're dealing with: trending, range bound, calm markets, volatile markets. In the first couple videos, we just sort of went through some different examples, and now we're going to really start to get specific. So this video is entirely on using volume profile for trending markets. We're starting with a gold futures contract here. And what you can see, again, if this is your first video, that's fine. I would encourage you to go watch the first couple of videos in the series first. But if you haven't done that, you can start here if you want quickly. The volume profile is here. The green area is the value area where all the volume is traded, 70% of the volume throughout the day. This is the most heavily traded zone. It's called the value area. So you got the value area high up in here. You got the value area low down here. And then you got the point of control, the orange line in the middle. So these are the most important areas of the value area. And when you get out of the value area, you're basically out of balance, right? You're up here in the upper part of the volume distribution, and you're outside where 70% of the volume has been traded. So you're above the value area, the area where most market participants are perceiving value because they're exchanging the most amount of contracts is here in the value area. So you get above the value area when you get out of balance, and then you get below the value area when you get out of balance. And the market is always looking for balance. So trending markets are basically representative of a market that's looking for new value, right? That's why it's leaving the current value area here. This is gold again. These are hourly price bars. So you're leaving the value area, you're trending up. And now in order to really know how to take advantage of volume profile during trending markets, the first thing we're going to start with is how to spot evidence that a trend might be ending. Because in my experience, your best bet of participating in a trend is to first be able to recognize the signs of when a trend is more likely to end, and then you know not to put on your trend trading playbook during that time, because you're going to look to start putting on your mean reversion or your reversal or your congestion action, your range bound playbook, right? So we really need to be able to identify using the volume profile whether or not we think the trend is going to continue. That's what we're going to start with. So here you see we're leaving the value area here. We're searching for new value higher, right? We're in a trend run up on this hourly gold futures chart. And as we start to head up here into the higher part of the volume profile, you can see, again, we're searching for value. I want you to pay very, very close attention to something here. I'm going to replay the chart here as I always do in my instructional videos here for you guys, because you've got to see it live, unfolding tick by tick in real time, which is what I do in all my videos when I'm trying to explain something, because looking at a volume profile when the day is over doesn't help us. We need to see how it evolved, how it developed throughout the day. So let's go ahead and click play here. You can see this is the London session, the gold market. I want you to pay attention to something very important here. So you see how the hourly is trying to push higher. Boom, right there. I'm going to pause it. You see what happened as the hourly is trying to push higher here, right? And this is going to evolve slowly. You're going to be able to pick this up in real time because I'm playing it on very fast forward mode, speeding forward, so we don't have to sit here and watch this tick by tick. But we're seeing what happens, how this point of control shifted from down here to up here, and you see how the volume distribution suddenly we've got not only the point of control up here, but we've also got the biggest chunk of volume now at this upper end of the chart. So this is super important, and this is something that I'm going to continue to point out to you guys because it's something that I don't see out there in YouTube. I don't see people explaining how the volume profile is constantly shifting. You're usually, when you're looking at a volume profile tutorial, people are looking back at fixed volume profiles, and that might be helpful just to understand the very basics. But if you actually want to learn how to use it for your trading and use it to try and make money, hopefully, then you've got to see it evolving and moving throughout the day. And how do you structure your trades around that developing profile? That's the key, right? So you saw here how the point of control shifted from down here to right up here. The main volume area shifted up here. So what this tells us first and foremost is that we are accepting higher prices. So earlier in the day, we were accepting prices down here around 20.78 for gold. And then as we push higher, we start accepting these prices here at 20.83, right? So you might say to yourself, okay, well, we're accepting higher prices. That's good, because if the market's going to keep trending up, we're going to continue to accept higher prices. And that is true. However, there's a really important caveat here that I want you guys to pay attention to and really understand, because it's key in determining if the trend is actually going to continue, or are you putting in an upper distribution here on the volume profile because you're setting up to go into congestion. That's the $1 million question you have to ask yourself. Are we simply on step 2 here, right? This is step number 1, let's say, down here, and you got 2, and as we head higher, is this just a stepping stone for number 3, where you're going to get more volume up here, right? That's what a trend, a really strong trend, will typically look like. But you need to be able to understand that when this volume is coming in on the current step of the volume profile, right? Again, we got step 1 down here. We're in step 2. We're wondering if we're going to go up to step 3 because the trend's going to continue, or are we going to get stuck in a range here, or maybe even reverse, right? So here's how you recognize that very, very important fact. And this is so critical because it's going to help you to understand when the likelihood of a trend is ending potentially. And if a trend is ending, that's going to give you a huge advantage to know when not to put on your trend trading playbook, right? And we're going to get into how you actually trade the trends themselves in a moment. But for the first part of this video, we really got to focus on what happens when the trend is likely to end, because you've got to see where these patterns are going to fail and why they fail before you start to really understand how to use them when they're going to work. In this case, trend trading. If we want to know how to successfully participate in trends using volume profile, we need to recognize the signs of when the trend is going to end. It's very, very important, right? So you can see here the volume is distributing up here, and I'm going to click the play button. You're going to see this price action develop on the hourly chart. Let's go ahead and watch this together. Right now, the time on the chart, you can always see the time. It's up here. It's 3 a.m. Eastern time. So this is London session, right? So I want you to notice a couple of things here quickly. You see, now we shifted the volume up here, as we said, right? We shifted the point of control up here, but you see what just happened? The point of control, as we started to make lower highs, right? We're still kind of trending up here. That's true. And this could continue to go, right? But look what happened in a very strong market, a strongly trending market. Number 1, you really shouldn't see consecutive lower highs like this. But number 2, you should not see, once you form that new upper distribution of the volume profile, as you've taken the point of control initially from down here to up here, you don't want to see that point of control drop, right? Because now we're shifting from here, we went up here, and now we just dropped here. What does that tell you? As we're putting in these lower highs and we're pulling back here, the volume point of control is shifting. That means you've got substantial selling pressure, right? That's your first clue that you don't want to bet on this trend continuing. If anything, you should count on shorting rallies at this point, right? You should go into your congestion, your range bound playbook, because the likelihood of this trend continuing is suddenly not very high. I hope you guys understand that, because it's a really key piece of information that I don't see anyone really covering out here. And this is going to be, you know, gold for you guys, no pun intended, even though we're looking at the gold market, but it's going to really help your trading. And again, you can see me doing this live in real time every day on YouTube at 8 a.m. Eastern, where I trade my own money, and I do it across all these futures markets you see over here to the right. And I'm explaining what I'm seeing on the volume profile. I've got all kinds of different charts. I got the weekly volume profile, the monthly, I'm using the daily. Of course, you know, I use my Owings market analysis, which for me is the key to everything, and then tying it into volume profile. But I'm showing you here how in a trending market, you shouldn't see this. And if the trend is going to continue, you won't see this. So let's go ahead and continue to play. Here you can see, you know, gold is kind of chopping around here, which you would expect because the volume profile is putting in heavy volume up here. The point of control is right now at about 2083, the orange line you can see there. And now you see, as this starts pushing higher, you know, you might be asking yourself, if you didn't know this, oh, you know, gold is going to resume its next leg to the upside here. Here we go. We're getting ready to break out. We're going to have a huge, huge breakout to the upside, right? Well, let's actually end up seeing what happens. And to be honest, I don't even know what happens here because I haven't looked at the whole day in advance. I try to do these, you guys. I'm going to pause it real quick. I literally try to do these live here on the video playback so that my mind is not cluttered with what I know what will happen. Instead, I'm really just looking at the volume profile for you the way I do when I trade live, because that enables me to teach it to you in the best way possible, the most realistic way that'll actually help your trading. So believe it or not, I actually didn't know that this was going to, you know, pop up here in reverse. I was like, oh, well, are we going to, you know, break out here to the upside? You know, because the volume profile certainly says that any attempt to break out higher should fail. And I thought, well, if it's going to break out to the upside, then we're going to see some evidence of that, you know, in the volume profile. But here's what I want to show you. This is what makes this so much fun, because I'm learning while we do this. And as I'm teaching you guys and explaining things, I'm always, you know, picking up, you know, new nuances and tidbits for my own trading. But this was really fun to see, right? Because I did expect, even before we saw any of this here, I gave you my reasons why we're going for congestion, right? And basically that I think that this trend run up is losing steam and not going to continue, right? I didn't call out a trade here, right? Because that's not the point of this video. We can certainly get into that. But for me, I wait for my Owings market analysis, patterns, types of tradings, and other things to match up with the volume profile before I put on the specific trades. But in this case, just to get a general sense of whether or not this trend run to the upside is going to continue, I already told you why I thought it wouldn't, based on the shifting of the volume profile from down here to up here, but then the point of control shifting. Once it lifted from here to here, we dropped the point of control. That means even though we were accepting higher prices overall, the point of control is shifting lower, right? So you're getting divergence between the point of control and the shifting of the volume profile. And when that happens, that's a sign of a weakening trend. So what you can see here is that even though gold spiked up, right, to the value area high here in the green line, we now appear to be reversing. You can see on that spike up there, you see how the volume point of control didn't follow it yet. And you see how we're getting an immediate pullback off of that. So that just tells you, that's more confirmation that this is not, you know, a place where you want to put on your trend trading playbook. And again, I'm going to get into specific examples of how to know that a trend is healthy and that you want to put on your trend trading playbook. But in order to do that, first, we need to understand when a trend is failing. Very, very important. So let's go ahead and play this. Continue here, see what happens. I'm just guessing based on the volume profile, we're going to probably test back down toward the lower end of the distribution down here, the value area low, because you're not accepting higher prices at this point. You know, the point of control is in the middle. You can see the distribution over there. Yeah, the point of control shifted a little there, but you can see it's basically in the same spot, only shifted by about, a couple of points there. And now here you can see, there you go, boom. So this thing now starts to, I'm going to pause it so we can explain. So you can see here, even though we tested higher, ultimately the volume profile gave us a very, very good clue that we were going to end up rotating back down from the value area high to the value area low because of what we were seeing with the development of the profile and the point of control. So that tells you right there that we're probably not going to see a big continuation of this trend. So by knowing that information, not only did you not get sucked into a false breakout here looking for higher prices, you are getting ready to short this market looking for your patterns specifically to go short. I've got my own patterns. I'll pull those out when I see this developing. And then I've got my trend trading patterns, which I'll pull out if I see that the trend is intact and I think I want to continue to trade with the trend. Okay. So this is really, really important. So now let's go ahead and, there are also many, many nuances in between here, guys. There are some instances where the market is trending higher like this, and you'll see some volume coming in and the point of control drops a little bit. But, I may see stuff on the weekly profile or somewhere else that still gives me a very good idea that, hey, we are in fact going to blast out of this to the upside. So there's a lot of information you got to take in. I'm trying to keep it simple by giving you the basics of what to look for. If you start with this, the information I'm giving you, you're going to be off to a fantastic start. But just remember that volume profile, it's an art. It's not a science. It's not, if A, then always B. It doesn't work that way. You've got to always look at it within the context. But with that said, these are some really good general points that I'm giving you in order to help you to identify if your trend setup is valid using the volume profile, or if you need to switch to your range bound methodology or your reversal methodology. So this is a really good example of showing you when the trend is more likely to stall and fail and reverse rather than continue, right? So let's go ahead now and let's go ahead and find an example together of a market that's actually trending up nicely and consistently and is going to stay trending. And we'll take a look at the volume profile in that instance. All right, guys. So in this example, we're going to look at the ultra bonds. And this, I do know what's going to happen next because I had to go back and find a really good trend day. You'd be surprised, but roaring trend days that just continue from the start of the day to the end of the day, they're very, very rare. And when they do happen, if you can spot them happening in the moment while they're happening, boy, can you make a lot of money on those days. But they just don't happen very often. And oftentimes it's difficult to spot, when you're in the middle of one of those trend days that's just going to keep going all day. But imagine if you can trade that kind of a day with the confidence that, in this case, let's say ultra bonds, you've got a good sense that you're just going to keep going like this the whole day on the hourly chart. I mean, imagine the possibilities of just pyramiding. I mean, you can make a lot of money. So let's go ahead and get into how to use the volume profile to kind of give us a heads up when one of these days might be underway so we can take advantage of them. And hopefully we'll take advantage of many of these days together when we trade live together on YouTube. I'd like that. But I'm always looking for reversals. I'm more of a mean reversion trader just because I know that the markets generally function that way most of the time. But on the days we get fortunate enough to participate in one of these trends, if we can recognize it early enough, it's a huge advantage. So let's just see right now. You can see, first of all, heading into this day, hopefully using Owings market analysis and, all the other volume profiles and everything else, hopefully we'd already have a pretty good idea that there's a chance we might be getting into one of these trends, right? You never know for sure, but hopefully we came into the day with that type of bias, right? And oftentimes on my pre-market forecast that I post on YouTube, you'll see that I do talk about these things, and I'm pretty confident, more or less most of the time when I think we're going to have a good move up or down one way or the other. I would say, it's about 65-70% accurate in terms of my ability to, pick the general daily direction. So probably on this day, we came in thinking, I wasn't trading this because it was over the Christmas holiday, but I would guess that I would come in saying, you know what, I'm bullish bonds. There's a chance this thing could head higher today. So coming into the day with that type of bias from the pre-market analysis that we do preparing for the day, then we'd want to see what clues the volume profile is giving us. So here you can see it's a thicker profile on bonds because it's per tick, right? So it's only one tick on bonds. You know, bonds will typically move, let's say 1 point, 1.5 points throughout the day. There's 32 ticks in a point. So you only have, you know, 50 or 60 ticks of bond movement in a day, let's say on the ultra bonds. Whereas, you know, something like the NASDAQ, you're going to have 4 ticks per point. It'll move 300 points in a day. You've got 1,200 ticks of range. That's why you see a much more granular volume profile on something like NASDAQ, and it's thicker here on bonds, but they're the same thing. We use them the same way. So you can see we're starting off here during the London session with the point of control right here, you know, where we're currently sitting, right? And you can already see one thing I want you to pay close attention to, even though this is the overnight session, some people don't use the volume profile for the overnight session. I do, because I think that all the volume is, you know, equally important regardless of when it comes in. I want to know where it comes in, right? That's what I'm interested in. So this tells me exactly where the volume's coming in. It doesn't matter for me if it's Asia, London, New York. I want to know where it's coming in, at what price. You can see immediately here that for the ultra bonds, right out of yesterday's close here, during the Asian session, you know, Tokyo, Australia, you pushed higher here from 132.27 up to, you know, 133.4. Immediately, that's a pretty good move for the Asian session for bonds, right? So you also got to know what market you're trading and, you know, what the average daily range is and all that kind of stuff. But still, even if you don't know those things, you can still use this information from the volume profile to benefit your trading. These are just other things that you'll learn over time. So you pushed up here during the Asian session, and then as you come into the opening of London here about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Eastern, you can see we're right at the volume point of control. There's your value area low, your value area high. Let's just watch this hour by hour and see if we can get any clues as to when the trend looks like it'll be a good, valid, full-on trending day to the upside. Right now, we're about 1:30 a.m. Eastern, so we're still kind of waiting for the London Open at 2 a.m. Eastern. And we can see here that we're still stuck around the point of control. It is up here, you can see the clock, 1:50. So we're heading into about 2 a.m. Eastern. I'll speed it up here in a moment. Let's go ahead and jump the speed up about double, 200 times. You can see now, let's just pay attention here bar by bar, right? Because this is how you get the most benefit out of learning this. You have to learn to, basically analyze and understand what's happening bar by bar, because if you learn through this way, you're going to much more likely be able to trade this rather than, there's a lot of stuff out there where you look at a video and maybe you kind of learn something, but it's not really practical in teaching you how to use it, during the day to benefit your trading. And that's obviously super important, right? So we're pulling back to the value area low here, right? You see the point of control is still intact here. So let's just go ahead and continue here. You see, all right, we're pushing up nicely off the value area low there, meaning buyers stepped in. You can see now, you see how I want you to really, did you guys notice what just happened there? Just rewind this video, a couple seconds. Notice how price, check the clock up here. You'll see, in real time, I think for about 15 minutes or whatever it was, this price was stuck right at that level here, right? The specific price number is over here. It doesn't matter. Just the price was here. It was stuck. And as it was stuck, did you guys see all this volume up here? This green bar was, let's go ahead and outline this for you guys. This was about, I don't know, something like that big to start. And then as price was sitting here, not going down, it was just sitting here, ticking up, all this volume came in, right? We're about to lift the point of control from here up to here when this volume on this price exceeds the current point of control. What does this tell us? It tells us that as we're pushing higher, the point of control is rotating higher. That tells us that we've got aggressive buying and we're accepting higher prices, right? Let's go ahead, play this. Okay, so now this is what's really, really important. You can see we haven't shifted the point of control higher yet, but what we did was all that volume came in there while this was pushing higher, never minding the fact that for OMA, you know what I use, you see these, I connect those highs and those lows, you see those yellow dots there? But we broke those on close. We also broke the near high, that red line there. This is very, very important. So this tells me that, you know, we're going to go higher, but then I look at the volume, right? So look at this volume now. This is the key. This is how you know you've got a special trend day. See how now we're immediately making a nice move higher and there's not a lot of volume coming in. Remember in the previous example in gold, all that volume started to come in, right? So that told us that the trend was likely to take a pause. Well, in this case, there's not a lot of volume coming in. What does this mean? This means that the market is not accepting this price level. It's going to go search for higher prices to accept and find balance, because that's where you'll see the major volume start to come in again. But right now, you just had a good move on bonds, you know, from once we broke out of this value area at 133.15, you know, we're quickly now moving higher without a lot of volume, which gives you your first clue that we're going to search for higher prices. So let's go ahead and watch this. Keep an eye on price and volume. So here you can see price, even though price is pulling back on that initial breakout there, you guys, you can see there wasn't a lot of volume. So now you can see there's some volume there, right? And that initial volume did cause price to, you know, punch back down to this high volume area. But as soon as we punch back down here, we immediately got put back up, and now we're coming back to this high volume area. Keep an eye. You can see we're shifting the value area higher. Got some volume coming in now. And what you want to ask yourself, you know, as this, see, this is what you got to ask yourself. As the point of control just shifted from here to here, what's happening to price? Price is being gobbled up on the dips as the point of control is shifting higher. This is a great, great clue that you're at the start of a trend day that you want to participate in, because the point of control is shifting higher and the dips are being bought up aggressively. You can see that in the price action. Let's continue to watch. See, every time we're dipping here, there's a dip. You're at the middle of the value area. So some volume is coming in, but you see so far the point of control hasn't shifted back. That's really important. Let's keep our eye on this. So you're expecting a continuation. I'll just pause this. Even though, you see, this is super, super important, because in the last example that we looked at with gold, you could see the point of control shifted down dramatically once you made that first higher high and you went into congestion there on gold. In this case, do you see how far out ahead the point of control is up here versus all this other volume here? This tells you that right now, it's almost the high of the day. There's the high of the day, one tick higher. But basically, right at the high of the day, you've got the point of control, the most widely accepted agreement on price, right? So we can already see that we're accepting higher prices. And once we drop, your first clue that we're going to just continue higher is that we're not shifting the point of control down. That's very, very important. An eye on this. Okay, there you shifted it one level. That's not really a big deal. Remember, this is like a zone. It's not like you're not shifting, you know, the point of control back down to the lows of the value area, right? You're seeing how the point of control. Now look at all this. This is so key. You guys see here how, right now look how far ahead this point of control is versus all the other volume levels, right? If you rewind the video, you'll see how as we've been sitting here at the same price level, you know, price is still getting gobbled up on the dips here, and the point of control is shooting way out here. This tells you these are aggressive institutional buyers at the point of control. So what you're going to look for is you're going to look for a break of the value area high, a break of those highs, a break of the high a day, and then you're going to look to squeeze higher on lower volume because all the institutions are getting positions on here. They're getting all nice and comfy, ready for this ride to the upside. Let's go ahead and play. Boom. So do you see now? Look at this move, okay? So notice how once the institutions got all nice and ready to rock and roll, this thing fired up and through the value area high. And you can see that as we're clearing out these levels now, you know, there's not a lot of volume, relatively speaking, right? Because this is the last widely agreed price point, the point of control. And now it's going to search for balance or a new value area higher. So one other way to recognize this when you're trending is you'll see, in fact, that do you notice how several of the other examples we've gone over, the value area will shift, right? So you're still going to see the value area shift on a trend day, but you're going to see it. It's going to take a little longer for it to shift because you're not going to be putting in the same kind of volume when you're ripping through these areas to the upside or the downside during a downtrend. So you'll see what I mean here in just a second. Let's play this. There you see we raise the value area high. Now you see how as we continue to rip higher, not only are we raising the value area here, but there continues to just not be a whole lot of volume stepping in, right? So that's just telling you it's going to keep looking for higher prices. That's a very, very important piece of information when you're in the middle of a trend day and you're asking yourself, is it likely to continue? So what you can see here is that there is some volume coming in at the upper part of the value area, the new value area, now that it's expanded, and you want to ask yourself, you know, is this going to be selling volume or buying volume, right? Well, what is this, aggressive buying or aggressive selling? Well, you can see it was obviously aggressive buying because we're already, you know, quite a ways through it. Now, sure, it could come back down and, you know, close way down in here. And then that would tell you ultimately the sellers took over. But for now, the buyers are in control here. And let's see, at some point, the point of control will probably shift higher as we accept higher prices. But this is also another really good key for you guys, that as you get further away from this point of control, and it's taking longer to shift the point of control higher, that just reconfirms the fact that all that volume here, since you really started breaking out here, is there's not a lot of volume, relatively speaking, right? So that tells you that your initial thesis that you're going to search for higher prices is intact, and indeed you are going to search for higher prices because the point of control is, you know, it's taking a while to shift higher. It's super important because the reason the point of control is taking longer to shift higher is because the market's not ready to find acceptance of price in this area. And if it's not ready to find acceptance of price in this area, what's it going to do? It's going to continue, you know, to blow through it. Now, you might ask, well, what's going to happen? How do I know? What's the difference when, you know, the point of control is not shifting and we're going to end up heading higher here because there's not a lot of volume? How do I know if it's the instance where it's going to reverse and head back down to the point of control and sneak back down inside the value area? Well, you're going to look at these high volume nodes here, and if they start to push out higher volume and prices dropping, that's your first clue that that's selling volume preparing to drive you back down into the value area, back to the point of control. But in this case, you see as these high volume nodes are coming in this relative low volume area, as we push through higher value, price is pushing higher, confirming that that's buying volume. Super, super important. Go ahead and play the video. So notice now all this volume you would want, and you have time to watch this develop in real time, right? So see how there's more volume coming in now here, Still not as much as the point of control, but you know, there's a lot of volume there. We already know that was buying volume. Now we want to know, what is this volume here? Well, we need to keep an eye on price here to see what this volume is telling us. Go ahead and play it. Okay, we just shifted the value area higher. All right, right there. Now this is where you would start to ask yourselves at this point, okay? Because we don't know that this is going to be a, you know, a really good trend day. I mean, we do know because we looked at it ahead of time. I had to find a good trend day, as I mentioned. But, you know, let's pretend that we don't know what's going to happen. Well, first of all, down here, I would say this was fairly straightforward to read. You know, you had very good clues as to why this was going to push higher. And from about 133.16 on the bonds here up to this current level, you know, 134.11, you know, that's a nice move. That's almost a full point per contract. That's about $1,000. In this case, it's not a full point, but it's about an $800 move per contract here on the Ultra bond. So you've already taken a nice chunk out of this if you were long. And, you know, you'd be asking yourself, you know, should I take profit now because the point of control has shifted up here and now prices are, you know, underneath. I mean, this one's right at the point of control basically, and this one here is right at the point of control. So I can tell you, if I was in this position here and I was already up $800, you can look at the clock up here. We're 9:53 a.m. Eastern, so we're about to get this close. I would really be interested in, you know, hopefully I would have the fortitude to wait for this close. I mean, it would depend how many contracts I had on, to be honest. If I had 5 contracts on and, you know, I made a quick $3,500, you know, from this move here, I'd probably take a few off, and then, you know, depending on this close, I'd leave, you know, 1 or 2 to run. But let's say you have 1 contract on and you really have to make the decision here. Do I pull this trade? I mean, definitely your stop's at break even. You know that much, right? And you're probably even trailing it a little bit, right? So where are you going to trail your stop? Well, you should trail it, you know, below a distribution area. We're going to get into a special video on trade management for volume profile and how to trail your stops and, you know, really how to enter and all that stuff. That's going to be later in the series. This is going to be first, you know, each type of trading, trending markets, congestion markets. I want to lay the foundation here for you guys first, and then we're going to get into, you know, even more detail as I have time to make more videos and the series progresses. So a little bit of an introduction to trade management, if we talk about that here, is that I would want to wait and see where this closes. If this closed, you know, at or above the value area high, above the point of control, with the shifting point of control higher, then I would want to hold, because I would think there's a good opportunity that, you know, we're going to continue to put in new volume prints up here and push higher. So let's see where this closes. That's going to tell us a lot. Okay, so you can see we had that close right there, and, you know, we closed higher than that last bar there. We're you know, edging right up to the value area high. There's lots and lots of volume, you know, coming in here. So I would say at this point, you know, you'd have to make a decision whether or not you want to close it. I probably would close it, but the market is looking extremely bullish here. You know, you're making higher highs, higher lows. You know, for my Owings market analysis, not only did I close here outside the envelope, way outside, but I'm closing above the true average. I'm closing above the live envelope, the live true average. So there's going to be a lot of support, you know, right in here. Now, you never know what's going to happen. Support could break and we could, you know, test all the way back down to the value area low. That is possible. We know that's not going to happen today because we've already seen how the day unfolds, but just generally speaking, anything can happen in trading. We know that, right? But what I would do, I would look at my own personal support levels in here, and I would either close this position because I already made my money, I'm happy, or if I really wanted to let this thing run, then I would say, okay, well, where do I have a low volume node? Right there, right? So like, where's the current distribution is what I'm trying to say. The current distribution is, you know, here, right? Let's go ahead and draw that a little bit better. So the main part of the current distribution is here, and then you got a little more there, you got a little here, but there's your low volume node right there, right? So really, I wouldn't want to see price trade back down through that low volume node. I would want to see this distribution holding. I'd want to see the buyers continue to be interested here, and I want to see it push higher into new prices. So let's see what happens. Okay, so do you see immediately the first test to that low volume node, it bounced up nicely, and now you've got a lot of volume coming in here. Now you're about to shift the point of control even higher, which is a good sign, right? Okay, so right there, you see how that low volume node was just a beautiful place to keep an eye on, right? I don't trade with stops personally. I mean, I'll have them way outside the market just in case I lose internet connection, or World War III, God forbid, happens or something. But I just have mental stops. I pick areas like this, where I know that, hey, I want to keep an eye on that area and see how price reacts. And if I'm long here and I decide to keep my long, I want this level as I'm watching it on the DOM, the depth of market, and the volume profile. And I've got my key OMA levels right there, the near low, middle of the moving average envelope, the old true average. I line all this stuff up. And then I say to myself, okay, well, I want to see if it's testing down there, if it's being picked up. And in this case, you could see it was, then I'd be content to hold the long because it's, confirming what I want to see. And now as the volume is shifting here, we're looking probably to extend higher. Let's go ahead and play. Coming up on 11 a.m. Eastern here. Here's our close for 11 a.m. Okay, so you can see, using Owings market analysis, number one, we still haven't entered congestion down, meaning we haven't gotten a close here below the middle of the moving average envelope. So that's still very bullish, right? And you still have your profile up here. Sure, you got your point of control shifting a little bit lower here, but you're still in the upper end of the volume distribution here. And really what's important as well is you can see that you had a lot of volume down here earlier. Now you have a lot of volume here. And now you're wondering if you're going to, hold here and cycle back down, or you're going to push higher. So I would do the same exact thing, right? Because we still haven't seen a big jump down in the point of control like we did in the first example with gold. You could really see that volume coming in. You could see as this volume was coming in on that first example with gold, the price was dropping on gold. We went for congestion entrance down. The point of control really shifted down. That's not happening here, right? So that's why I wanted to show you what happens when the trend is going to end, which it did in gold, and the clues, the signs that alert you to that based on the volume profile, and what's happening now, that there's a likelihood of the trend continuing, and the opposite signs, which you can see right here that we just detailed, right? Is that price is not going down. Sure, the volume's coming in here, point of control shifted 1 or 2 ticks, but we're still pushing higher here, telling you what? That this is buying volume, right? And that the lower part of this distribution here should continue to provide good support for price. And if this trend is going to continue to the upside here, and this low volume node, we should blow straight through that, right? See what happens, because the low volume nodes, they either reject price like this one is doing here, or price is just going to blow straight through them like it's probably going to do here. So this is another important thing I don't see on YouTube very often. People, oh, low volume node rejects price, just use it to, put in your entry order. It's like, no. This is a very nuanced topic. It's not a science. You have to really understand how all this works, which is, why I'm going through these examples and taking my time and really showing you guys how all this works. Go ahead and play this. Do you see here? Just notice, look at this, guys. You see how all that volume is coming in? We're building the profile, and as we're building the profile, we're pushing price higher. That's the key, and we're obviously extending the value area high, much higher as well. So let's continue to see how this thing unfolds. You're pushing higher here. We are coming up on the 12 p.m. midday close. Boom, there. So here you can see, you've already extended. You're still in a very strong trend run to the upside. Now you can see the majority of the volume is here. At this point, you got to suspect that, obviously that's buying volume. And now, what you want to ask yourself, well, okay, is this trend going to continue? Well, if we look at the fact that, okay, the value area high did hold resistance, and you know, with my OMA, I've got a nice extension that held here. So I could be looking at this, all other things being equal, and I could say to myself, yeah, you know, there could be some resistance up here for sure. But again, even with my indicators and my methodology, you know, I know where to, it's just like everything else, like volume profile. I know where my extension trend line is valid and where it's not valid. Right here is not valid because you got a firing trend run to the upside. I'm not just going to take an extension here because you have, you know, this trend, but that's neither here nor there. We can cover all that stuff later. For the volume profile, what you'd want to ask yourself again here now is, what did we just do in the last part here? You know, we asked ourselves, where was that low volume node? It was there. That's what we want to see hold. Well, where's your low volume area now? Here. It's right there. Right? So we want to see that hold. It just happens to also come in at the broken near high, which is these broken highs here. You know, so this should be, if this is going to continue, this 134, you know, 14-ish, this level should be strong. So we should see it as it tests down there. You should see the price action. You should see on the DOM, the depth of market. You should see, you know, the bids being stacked here. You should, as it gets down here, you should see the offers being pulled. We'll do a special video on pulling and stacking for the order book, the depth of market. And guys, you're going to get a lot of value out of this channel as we continue to go over all the little things that will lead to you being, you know, having the best chance possible to be a consistently profitable trader. That's the goal. So what you can see here is we're applying the same idea that we did down here with this low volume area here. Now let's see what happens. So watch this. Okay, you're testing down, testing down. This is our key area now. We're testing down into our key area. First chance picked up. Second chance picked up. So you'd be watching this, because remember, this is going to happen much slower in real time. You see how it tested down there a couple times, but it got picked up where? Right at the low volume node. Beautiful, right? Trend intact. We're managing this trade as we're going. We're just continually looking at the evidence, the objective evidence from price and volume at price, the volume profile. You know, what's more likely to happen next? Is the trend going to continue, or is the trend going to end? We see that it's going to continue for now. We play it. Pushing higher. Keep an eye on the volume to the left. You can always pause and rewind. Look, we're just blowing through. You know, we're just trending. You know, with OMA, you're closing outside the envelope top, closing outside the envelope top. You know, probably going to get another close outside the envelope top. This is a very strong trend run for me. But you're also just blowing straight through these low volume areas, right? So it's searching for balance. It's searching for new value up here. It's going to keep going till it finds the value. See, heading higher, heading. Now we are coming up on, it'll be 2 p.m. Eastern at the close of this bar. You can see as it's working here. You see this, guys, how as it's working here, you know, it's just searching for more value. We haven't found more value yet. So it's just going to keep going till it finds, you know, some level of acceptance. And we will see that. We'll see signs of that. Nothing's perfect, but we'll see signs of that on the volume profile. Okay, so there's your 2 p.m. close. I mean, this is the first close above the value area all day, right? I think, if my memory serves me correctly. So now we're closing outside the value area, right? It's not like we're shifting the point of control. It's not like a bunch of volume is coming in up here and we're heading lower. So this thing is well intact. You're seeing, we're just kind of skating through this low volume area as we push higher. Everything looks good. You know, so if you want to manage this position, I'm going to ask you guys, you know, what would you look for here? Well, you know, you'd want to look at this low volume area, which in this case is right below us. So you'd want to see how price gets picked up here at 134.24, 134.25, right in there. You should see buying in there if this is going to continue higher. See what this can do for your ability to trail your stops? You see how this is pushing higher now? We're coming up on 3 p.m. So we're getting close to the end of the day here. So, and bonds, you know, toward the end of the day, basically the day is basically, you know, coming to an end here shortly. So, but you can still see here, we don't have, it's just Got a nice little volume area there, nice little volume area there. So it's continuing to search for acceptance up here, right? So now this is you know, the average daily, the average true range for the ultra bonds at this time, I believe, you know, was probably about 1.25, 1.3 points, right? Which is, you know, call it 40 ticks, more or less. We've already exceeded that by a lot. So I would be aware of that when I'm trading this market, that we've already, you know, greatly exceeded the average true range. So I'd be looking to take profit up here anyways. But where's a good spot? Well, go ahead and, you know, you usually get these blow off tops at the end of the trend. I'll start projecting my extensions up here. So I'd be looking to take profit up in here somewhere. Of course, I know what's going to happen, but to be honest, I don't really know where the exact end of this day is. Just notice how that got picked up at that low volume area for now. And now what I want you to see for the first time, do you guys see? There's volume coming in here. Still not a lot comparatively speaking, but as that volume is coming in, so far, price is kind of stuck between this low volume area and this volume that's coming in, which tells that this could be selling volume. And you can also see this volume here in the light gray. There is some volume coming in here, and price is trying to drop a little bit. So I would start to, you know, look to take profit up here somewhere based on, you know, the volume that we're seeing coming in, because what's happening now is what you're seeing is that volume is coming in. Look at this. Okay. The volume is coming in. All that volume that came in, look at, we got a new, that's a pretty big high volume node there. And sure, price is going a little higher for now, and I think it will go up here. But this is a clue now that, you know, I would start to look, you know, for profit taking, because we're starting to find some value up here. You see how you soon, you know, if this day was going to continue, which it won't because we're getting to the end of the day, but if this day was going to continue, you would start to see some volume changing hands up here, which means they're accepting this price, which means this is where the trend will end. This is where you take your profit, look for your reversal strategies and your congestion action range bound strategies. So hopefully that helps, guys. You know, this was a really good example here to look at. First example of gold, where we looked at, you know, when a trend is likely to end. And then this example of the ultra bond, the treasury bond futures, where you can see really good, clear evidence at different stages of the trend of why the trend is going to continue. So I do hope this helped you out. If you're getting value from the video, please subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already done that, give the video a thumbs up, and you know, leave me a comment. Tell me what if you have any questions, if you're not really understanding something, I didn't explain it clearly, please do let me know. I'll take the feedback and, you know, try and get better with each video that I do, because I think this is a lot of fun. Like I said, I do this for myself all the time anyways, because I'm constantly reviewing my own trades and just developing my own methodology and everything. And so I figured, well, I can share, you know, some of what I'm, you know, the research I do, I can just share it with you guys, and it'll benefit some people. And I'm a firm believer in that, you know, what you give out there does come back to you. So, you know, giving in a way it's, you know, it's very meaningful, because you give and you help others, and that helps you, and that helps the whole, you know, society. So that's why I think it's kind of fun, and I just enjoy doing it. It's just trading is my love, is my passion, something I enjoy very much. So I hope you guys can I hope you get a lot out of this. I hope you enjoy it and you can feel the passion coming through on the video. Okay, take care. I'll see you in the next video. We'll cover more in-depth analysis like this in specifically range-bound markets in the next video, because this was focused on volume profile in trending markets. Okay, take care, everybody.